Things have been, roughly, sorted out. I sighed with relief as I looked at Yu Jung-hyuk through the screen of the channel. I was anxious about the bureau arriving, but fortunately, Yu Jung-hyuk was faster. It was a good choice to convey a message to Uriel through Jang Hayoung. The constellation Demon-like Judge of Fire is smiling brightly. It was Uriel who took Yu Jung-hyuk to that place. Yu Jung-hyuk was angry with me over the breaking the Sky Sword incident, so I decided that Uriel's words would have more influence on Yu Jung-hyuk. Jang Hayoung watched Bi-hyung on the screen and muttered, "It's the first time I've seen a dokkaebi so helpless." The racial stories are intertwined. In order to deal with a Weni person, a great dokkaebi, or at least 4 dokkaebis, must appear. You know it very well. Eileen said that everything about the dokkaebis and Weni people was covered in a veil. This is basic information among the constellations. Jang Hayoung stared at me with strangely respectful eyes after hearing my words. Of course, not all constellations knew this information. The screen showed a short close-up of Biu and Yu Jung-hyuk holding her. "I will get revenge for you. Goodbye, Captain. Good job. I'll leave it to you. Rest." The sentences that only I could see were passing through my head. Now these words had gone to the place they were meant to. I didn't know much about it, but one thing was certain. At least now they understood each other without words. The things I couldn't read had definitely touched them. I didn't know why, but I felt lonely thinking about it. "Kim Dokcha?" Jang Hayoung was staring at me. I scratched my head and quickly opened my mouth. "In any case, Yu Jung-hyuk will do it somehow. This side must be ready." "Shit, already?" Jang Hayoung and I looked out the window of the office at the same time. Clouds of sand were gathering beyond the walls of the industrial complex. There was a commotion among the citizens. I could see Mark and the other lawmakers calming them down. "Oh, there are still some hot-tempered constellations. There are still 48 hours until the Demon King's election." The familiar voice of a dokkaebi was heard in the air. High above the industrial complex, Dokgak stared at me and laughed. "I was originally thinking the beginning should be more boring." He was obviously smiling, but his eyes were full of resentment against me. No matter how much he disliked me, he couldn't start his own game within the Demon King selection story. "This time, it isn't bad to start early." "What?" "A new sub-scenario has been required." "The sub-scenario, Skirmish, has started." I saw the emerging window and noticed how things were progressing. A sub-scenario. In the absence of Biu and Bi-hyung? This jerk. Sub-scenario, Skirmish. Category, Sub. Difficulty, ? Clear conditions. Protect the story core of the industrial complex for a limited amount of time. Or steal it. Time limit, 48 hours. Compensation, attacking side, qualification for the Demon King selection. Defending side, 200,000 coins, ? Failure. None. I frowned. It might be a sub-scenario, but opening a scenario in this way was clearly out of the ordinary. Some constellations are dissatisfied with the unfair process of Dokgak. Some constellations are requesting a probability-conforming screening. Fortunately, I wasn't the only one to think so. I knew some of you would think so. Certainly there is some unfairness. The number of defenders and attackers aren't equal." Dokgak was staring at me. It was a smile that told me I could handle such a scenario. It was an obvious provocation. "Thus, I've slightly adjusted the difficulty level. As far as this sub-scenario is concerned, the individual constellations of the attackers and defenders will have equal levels." The moment Dokgak spoke, a faint aura surrounded my incarnation bodies. The stats of everyone participating in the scenario is fixed. I slowly clenched my fists before opening them. The attacking constellations would have received the same penalty. I couldn't see whether my stats had fallen or increased. Some constellations are still protesting that this scenario is against the probability. Dokgak had a troubled expression. Don't say that. This is really... you've all become weak. Have you already forgotten that scenarios are fun because they're difficult? The channel became a terrible mess with indirect messages supporting and opposing it. In the meantime, Dokgak pushed ahead with the scenario. You are currently the owner of the Dokgak complex. You are playing the role of defender in the skirmish. You must protect the story core from the attacking constellations. I smiled bitterly as I faced Dokgak. Yes, this is what he came up with. Dokgak, how? Rather than answering Zhang Haiyang, I opened the wide and yelled towards the citizens. All citizens, this is the first time I am personally greeting you. My true voice resonated through the industrial complex. I once again breathed in and shouted, Please calm down and concentrate on my words. The voice of the Duke was heard for the first time, and all the citizens looked at me. Voices came from all over the place. It's Dokgak. That person's the Duke. Unfortunately, I couldn't match their expectations. I can't protect you. Perhaps there had been never such a Duke in the demon world. In addition, I hoped there wouldn't be any more in the future. So don't die here like dogs and find your own way to live. I will personally recommend the Dokgak Industrial Complex. I could see the mouths of the citizens dropping open at my absurd declaration. Even Mark looked at a beginner in a bewildered manner from where he was calming the citizens. Still, it couldn't be helped. This was the only way to save them. There should be no unnecessary sacrifices in this scenario. Do you want to free the citizens of your industrial complex? Free them. All citizens of the industrial complex are freed from your influence. The citizens of the Dokgak Industrial Complex received the escape scenario. The citizens of the Dokgak Industrial Complex can now choose an industrial complex. You have acquired a new legendary story. The story, Liberator of the Industrial Complex, has been acquired. Messages poured out, and I left a final message. Everyone, please leave. I will stop them until everyone leaves. Bi-hyung might have argued against this if he was here, but he was now lying in a distant place. The citizens of the industrial complex are giving a standing ovation for your noble sacrifice. Thanks, but I wasn't planning on a noble sacrifice. I focused on the energy coming from beyond the barrier of the industrial complex. There were 4 huge energy sources. At least 4 constellations were approaching. Zhang Haiyang, take Han Myung-oh and the Breaking the Sky Master. Flee and don't look back. Never think about fighting them. What? I don't want to. I don't care if you want to. Go directly to Dokgak, quickly. There were 4 coming now, but there would be more behind them. They weren't something a transcendent dog, a human whose gender was ambiguous, and a middle-aged man who had been pregnant could face. I am one of them anyway. I immediately ran downstairs and pulled out the story core of the factory. The factory has stopped running. The important thing was to protect the story core. I didn't have to stay in the industrial complex to defend it. I opened Bookmark and used Way of the Wind to climb on the wall of the industrial complex. Is this what you want? The 4 approaching constellations listened to me. If you want it, then you'll have to take it away. The fearsome constellations followed behind me. The reason I could flee was because we had equal stats. They were 4, and I was 1. I didn't have much of a chance, regardless of whether the constellations were high or low ranking. I ran over barriers using Way of the Wind. The constellations confirmed I was holding the story core and started to chase me. If they took me down here, they could qualify to participate in the Demon King selection. It wasn't strange for them to go on a rampage like this. Dokgak laughed at me. Ah ha ha ha! It's very easy to run away. Constellations, do you really want to stay on Bi-hyung's channel to watch such a person? This son of a bitch. I wouldn't have suffered from this sub-scenario if Bi-hyung hadn't been distracted. However, I couldn't do anything because Bi-hyung wasn't here. Requesting a rise in membership level of the dokkaebi bag. I'd already become a platinum level, which was an increase by 2 levels. Still, platinum wasn't the highest ranking. The dokkaebi in charge is currently absent. The status update will be automatically executed due to the dokkaebi's absence. 500,000 coins have been consumed. Congratulations, you have become a diamond member of the dokkaebi bag. Due to the increase in membership level, the item list of the dokkaebi bag will be updated. The diamond members could purchase VIP exclusive items. If my memories were correct, the items would have been released by now. You can see the list of exclusive VIP items. If Bi-hyung was here, he would have hidden this list even if he died. It was because Bi Hyung's Black History was among the items of the list. Random Story Box, version 1.3, 20,000 coins. Story Fusion Box, version 1.3, 200,000 coins. Was as expected. These crazy coin items were being sold. Fortunately, the updated version was the one I was looking for. Shit, what are the odds? Why didn't they publish the odds? In the 71st round, Kim Na-moon bought this wrong thing and was ruined. You have purchased 10 random story boxes. You have purchased 1 story fusion boxes. 400,000 coins have been consumed. The random story box was one of the few gambling items that consumed coins to get stories. Due to the description that the best quasi-myth grade story could be obtained, the incarnations and constellations ran towards this item once it was released on the market. Of course, it went without saying that they all become bankrupt. The rest was natural. The probability of getting a history grade story from the random box was less than 0.001%, and the odds of a quasi-myth story wasn't even 0.00001%. Then what about the remaining 99.99%? Crazy. 50 history grade stories? There's even the lowest grade? Is this a joke? I grabbed a falling box and opened it with my mouth. Do you want to use the random story box? I knew there was little chance of a good story coming out of this box. And why did I want this box? The story I wanted wasn't a good story. The story, Head, Shoulder, Knee, Feet, has been acquired. The story, Don't Cut My Hair, has been acquired. The story, Nose Pendant Hanging from the Nose, has been acquired. The story, Earring Hanging from the Ears, has been acquired. Indeed, it was as I saw in Ways of Survival. In the 1.3 version of the story box, there was a more than 80% chance of stories regarding the body coming out. The most common of them was Nose Pendant Hanging from the Nose and Earring Hanging from the Ears. From behind me, a serpent's fangs grazed my sides and thighs. It was an attack containing the power of a story. I gritted my teeth and activated Way of the Wind to the extreme, hiding behind the ruins of a building. I needed a bit more time. Where are you? I ignored the ugly true voice and confirmed the stories I had just acquired. History grade story. Nose pendant hanging from the nose. Description. If you place anything on your nose, it will trigger an effect that makes it look like an accessory. The item doesn't matter. History grade story. Earring hanging from the ears. Description. If anything is hung on your ears, an effect that makes it look like an earring will be activated. It is a story made in combination with nose pendant hanging from the nose. Needless to say, these stories weren't helpful when it came to breaking through the current situation. However, it was different with the next item. Item information. Story Fusion Box version 1.3. Description. It confused together different types of stories. There is a very low probability of randomly creating a higher grade story. An item that had a very low probability of generating a high-level story when mixing certain combinations of stories. Originally, this item wasn't very useful. The same stories being put together produced different results every time, and the odds of getting a good story were ridiculously low. Nevertheless, according to the character's remarks, there was a bug in the 1.3 version of the Fusion Box. The sale of the box was discontinued because of this. Shit, I should have tried it before Anna Croft. There was a bug with the 1.3 version of the Fusion Box. It was that mixing certain stories, the first person who did it must receive a certain story. The 2 stories were poured into the box without hesitation, and there was a bright flash of light. A message entered my ears along with a throbbing pain. The legendary story, Distorting Things as One Pleases, has been acquired.